We here at Mayhem Media
understand the trials and tribulations of life,
no matter how hard life can get.
Suicide is never the answer.
There's more assistance available today than ever before.
If you or a loved one are suffering from suicidal thoughts, please don't try and take it on alone.
Call or text 988 if you live in the United States.
Or if you're in Great Britain, call 116123 or text 85258.
The world is a better place with you in it.
Welcome, everyone, to Mayhemtainment 53. I am your host and the creator and president of Mayhem Media, JD. And we have a full roundtable for you in this episode, which is fantastic. So let me start immediately. To my left, or to your right, if you're watching the episode, is the co-host of the Nice Guy Andy podcast, and also will be added to our affiliates screen as soon as I redo it in August. Superfly Johnny Lee. Thank you for coming back, sir.
You're welcome, brother.
Next to him, at the top right of your corner, is Mayhem Media team member and researcher and co-host of our prediction show, the Wolfman. Wolfman, welcome to Mayhemtainment, sir.
Thank you, brother.
Underneath me is another Mayhem Media team member. He is the creator of the fantastic Mayhem Media skull that you see plastered both behind him and in the top right and left corners of your screen. And he has also created just about everything that we release. He has created, including the new Wolfman symbol, the symbol for the Last Outlaw Jesse James, and of course Connor Clarkson. So thank you, Ecto85, aka Robbie H, for a last-minute addition to this episode.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And of course, last but not least, he is our returning champion, video producer, and MAW, that's Midwest All-Star Wrestling. I seem to be the only one that refers to it as MAW, but a couple people have kind of liked it, so I'm going to keep doing it. Hector Ornales. Hector, welcome back to Mayhem Media.
Thanks for having me. Love y'all, beautiful people. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Now, we are having a little trouble hearing you, Hector, so just make sure you do as best you can. I know that you are currently also driving, so please make sure, of course, your attention is first and foremost on the road and not what we're saying.
Safety first.
Yes, absolutely. Safety first, then teamwork. That's what we say. Well, I said that once. We are going to be talking about, let me shout out Marcus Frederiksen. He does our music. We have to give him a shout out. Go check him out, reverbnation.com/Marcus Frederiksen. Share out your favorite song. He does the music. He's going to play us in and out of every Mayhemtainment episode. And of course, our storefronts, bonfire.com/store/Mayhem Media Shop. We need to get another updated visual because we have even more designs and stuff available. So make sure you go check that out, including our limited time only 4th of July Freedom apparel. So, and use the promo code Freedom to get yourself 10% off your purchase, off that t-shirt design purchase specifically. And I think that's everything. So we're going to talk about nostalgia in this episode, gentlemen. And specifically 90s nostalgia, because that's what most of us kind of is nostalgic for us. And we're going to be talking about some of the good and the bad. So, and I'm going to start us off. There's I have different visuals, but I'm going to throw it to you guys in case anybody has a specific topic they'd like to talk about. And I'm going to take us right into, you know what, this was a popular video when or a promo visual when I shared it. Let's start with Home Improvement and some of these 90s sitcom 30-minute shows that we started with. Johnny Lee, you go ahead first.
Man, there's just something about Home Improvement that always felt like it really was ahead of its time at the time. Tim Allen, can't go wrong with him. He basically made Tool Time feel like it was a real show on Home Improvement. It's like you felt like you could just turn on TV and you could watch Tool Time yourself. It wouldn't even think that it was just actors. It's fire for me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Wolfman, were you a fan of Home Improvement?
Yeah, it made me laugh all the time, and like the shenanigans he would go with, like souping up his lawnmower with moss and everything. And I'm
Yep.
like, that guy's gonna either blow up his house or kill somebody.
Yeah, one of the things that I always like to going off a little bit about what you said, Wolfman, and you said, Johnny Lee, was the like some of the lessons. Like TV shows aren't made like they were in the '90s. Like there were a lot of life lessons and things to be learned in Home Improvement, as well as other shows that we're going to talk about.
That's
Robbie
right.
H, were you a fan of Home Improvement? Are you a fan of Home Improvement?
Well, honestly, we just started rewatching the show probably about a few months ago. And I never realized that Tim Allen actually had another catchphrase at the beginning of the show. At the beginning of the show, if he didn't understand something, it didn't matter what it was. He would look at Wilson or whoever, and he'll look at him and be like, "How you spell that?"
That's
And
true.
I just
That's
loved
true.
it.
I never really thought about that. But now that I think about it, you're absolutely right. He used it as a stopgap, like when he was confused about something. How do you spell that?
So we're just like we're Tim Allen family. We've been watching that, Last Man Standing, and all that stuff. So I mean,
Heck yeah. And also, you can't forget that Mr. Wilson was such a great character himself. You
He
know,
was.
he gets face most of the time.
Yeah,
He was the
absolutely.
Mr. Feeney of Home Improvement.
Absolutely. We'll get into Mr. Feeney in a minute. Hector, what are your thoughts on Home Improvement? Were you a fan? Are you still a fan?
I was a huge fan actually growing up. It was one of my favorite shows. It was just one of those things that would come on, and I agree. Actually, Mr. Wilson was one of my favorite characters, especially the fact that you never really saw his face, but man, was that guy filled with wisdom.
A little
Mhm.
fun fact for everybody. He plays in an episode of Law and Order as a defense attorney, and it's the only time I've ever seen him play in something that you see his face. And he looks so familiar to me, but I couldn't place him. So I had to look him up on that episode. I had to see who was playing that character on that episode. And when I followed the links, it turned out it was actually Wilson. And I was like, holy cow, I did not know Wilson had a bottom half of his face.
Well, I'm glad he was a defense lawyer, not like one of the criminals. Because I once saw Law and Order where Dean Cain was just like this horrible, like killer husband or something. I forgot what the episode was, but Dean Cain, I remember him from the Superman series. What is it, Superman and Lois? And
Yep.
Lois and Clark.
kind of destroyed his character on my end when I saw him as this despicable criminal.
You bring up a great point, Hector, about some of the characters that we watched in 90s television. Once we get into the 2000s and 2010s, we see some of these characters, some of these beloved 90s characters doing guest spots on some of these other TV shows. Like I saw, oh man, I'm totally drawing a blank on his name. The guy from Varsity Blues, the quarterback, James Vanderbeek, is that his name?
Yep. Name.
Yeah. Okay.
Dawson?
So I saw him on an episode of one of the CSIs or one of the CSIs or the Criminal Intents or one of those. I'm not sure exactly which one it was, but he was a freaking like a multi-personality, terrible person, and I was like, dude, what? Like it was.
The one that got
weird.
me was Uncle Jesse.
Oh yeah, Uncle Jesse from.
They had a show. They had like a TV movie where he was abusing his kids. Didn't think he was cool after that.
Yeah,
It's hard to be able to separate those sometimes for sure. I try and keep like an honest opinion. I try and view the actor as at the role he's playing and try not to like hate the person just because he's playing a bad character or something like that. But yeah, that is. Go ahead, Johnny.
Because you love a character so much that when you do see the actor go and he's playing something that's so different, so drastic, it blows your mind because now you're seeing this this isn't even like Jesse. This is a freaking nature here. And now you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I ever grew up loving him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is like that. It's also one of the reasons we have trouble in the Marvel universe, right? With superhero movies and stuff, when people get recast or if they get cast, for example, Robert Downey Jr. is going to play, Doom, which is going to likely, spoiler alert, which is likely going to end up just being a variation of an Iron Man in a different universe. Which also alters the Doctor Doom story. Like, we're not going to get into all that, but it goes into, it seems these actors embody the characters, and when you see them play something different, that seems to be hard. All right, let's talk about, let's go to some video games for a moment. Super Mario Brothers. Who is a Super Mario Brothers fan, and did you have a favorite Super Mario Brothers game? Let's go the opposite way here now. Let's go to Hector first. Hector?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Nope. We can come back to you if you need a second. Okay.
No, it's cool. It's cool. Sorry, I'm like I said, I am driving. I am paying attention, but I just
yes. No, please. Like I said, that's why I said we can always come back to you if you're driving and you got to pay attention.
I'm stuck in traffic, so I'm not moving very fast at the moment.
Very good.
But Mario 3 was probably still one of my favorite games. And one of the few games I can actually still go from the Super Nintendo era I like playing the All-Star version versus the original Nintendo version. But one of the few games I can revisit and probably play from start to finish. I mean, there's just so much that video game can give you in terms of not only difficulty level, but just the different characters that you meet and the different things that you have to the skills that you have to build upon. I mean, yeah, definitely one of my favorite games. And actually, I just played it the other day on the Nintendo Switch, but the buttons were off by like a millisecond, and it just made the game that much more harder to play.
Yes, absolutely. Dude, I hate delays on controllers. That is one of the few things that will cause me to have the urge to hurl my controller as hard as I can across the room. Let's make this a dual one. Did you have a favorite TMNT game too, Hector?
Oh, the original NES one. That was probably and I I'm gonna go ahead and put myself on blast here. I never beat the original game. I had to wait until I had the emulator to be able to get the save states, and then I was finally, after 30 plus years, was able to finally defeat it. But yeah, the original NES one was my go-to.
You're talking about the side scroller, right?
Yeah.
Now the image from this screen, we all know the game. We're not going to speak its name because that would revitalize it or give it more energy. But this particular game is one that would just, I don't know if I was never able to beat that Turtles game. I loved and hated that Turtles game so much.
Same.
So
killer soundtrack though.
Yes, you're right. Ecto, Robbie H, what are your thoughts? Do you have I know you were a huge Super Mario Brothers game across the board, and then what about your favorite Turtles game as well?
All right, Mario 3 has got to be the best Mario game, hands down, even to now games. When it comes to Ninja Turtles, I like the Manhattan Project the best. I started off on Ninja Turtle Arcade. That was my first video game ever. And I mean, as much as I love it, it is brutal. But once I found Manhattan Project, I can't go to anything else.
I can understand. Manhattan Project was a great game. Wolfman, what about you? Favorite Mario?
My favorite Mario would have to be, oh God, it's not a Mario game. It's Luigi's Haunted Mansion.
Oh my goodness.
Then,
did you have a favorite Turtles game?
I was never really into the games. I was more into the cartoons because just wanted to see the mischief what Michelangelo got into, because you never know what that guy was doing.
Now, was that the 90s cartoon TMNT?
Yep.
Or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
That was a good one.
I don't think I have any sound bites from the cartoon, though. No, I don't, unfortunately.
Yeah. but an interesting fact, I did research it, and the voice of Shredder was the guy that played Uncle Phil from
That's
Fresh
true.
Prince.
And I had that, yeah, I had that visual somewhere, but it didn't make it into the studio. But yeah, let's talk about that. Let's answer that. Did Johnny Lee, and then we'll get to you on your answer on the other two questions there. But who knew? Did anybody know before they were older that Uncle Phil was Shredder? You did, Johnny Lee?
Yep.
Like during the show Fresh Prince, you knew he was Shredder?
Yeah, because
that's
if you
insane.
listen to the voices, you listen to
No, I don't care. No way, I disagree. I disagree. I disagree with the voices. There's no way to tell. I completely disagree with that statement. I refuse to believe.
If you listen closely, though.
Yeah, no chance.
No, honestly, if you once you already know it's Uncle Phil, and you watch the Ninja Turtles over again, because I got the box set, you could tell it's Uncle Phil the whole time. Now, when I was growing up, did I know? No, I didn't know until about like 10 years ago. But I mean, if you rewatch it now, you're like, "Where's Will Smith?"
Especially when he gets mad and he's cussing out, or not cussing out, but when he's getting Will into trouble, you can hear a little raspiness in his voice.
Well, now I'm thinking that Shredder's going to be throwing one of the turtles out like they're a real
DJ Jazzy Jeff.
That's ridiculous. So Hector, you knew too? When did you know?
No, it wasn't until the YouTube era that I figured that out. And then I had to go back and revisit it, and I was like, "Oh my, my mind is blown."
Okay, well, you all have me beat. I found out about 3 years ago.
Whoa, 3 years ago. Hey.
Yeah, I was way behind the curve when I saw it pop up in my Facebook feed, and I said, "Bullshit."
I can't
I had to look that up, and I was wrong. That's just the way it is.
That's true.
All right. What about Willy Wonka? Who's a fan of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Let's go back. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. We got to go back. I forgot. Johnny Lee, what's your favorite Mario game?
Super Mario 2, and the reason why is because years later you find out Super Mario 2 was actually them in a play.
Listen, Johnny Lee, I'm going to stop going to you. What's your favorite turtle game?
I mean, you can't beat that one. The
fact you're gonna pick
that you love it and you hate it.
This is why I'm going to stop going to you right here. You're picking some ridiculous answers.
Well, Super Mario 2 was a play.
Yeah, I know it was.
It was also a whole nother video game that they just reskinned.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it has such a different feel and everything on it.
Absolutely right about that. And I did not like the feel. I was not a fan of number 2. My favorite game, I know it wasn't in the 90s, but I'm going to have to go with the first Super Marios. I was a fan of the original, the OG one for sure.
Dude, I've got video of you playing the original Mario Brother from 1989.
Well, let's just keep that wherever it is, and it's not bring that on. Oops, that's not the right one. And my favorite Turtles game has to be the side scroller, the Turtles game from the 90s era. Although there was a game on the Xbox Arcade when it was just a 360 before the one, and it was not a side scroller, but it had a similar feel to the old school arcade game. And I can't remember the name of it, and I haven't been able to find it since the 360. Went the way of the
Was it the Shadows?
I'm not sure. I really can't remember, and I haven't been able to see. I haven't been able to find the game or gameplay or anything about it. So
they came out with one a few years ago on the Xbox, and it was like a team player base.
Yeah, that
you could play as the original Turtles, the ones with the red bandanas, or the different colors. And it was called Out of the Shadows or something within that means. And they took it off a marketplace because I used to have it.
Yeah.
And
that's a topic.
They don't have a disc of it.
Yeah, and that's a topic for another conversation. Buying rights to video games and not actually owning the digital rights. That's for another day. All right, I got everybody on the video games, right?
Yeah.
I want to make sure I don't skip anybody on any of these. So, all right, let's talk about Willy Wonka. Who's a fan of Willy Wonka? I'm going to start this one off. I'm a fan of the original, definitely. I think the remake was crap. I understand that the remake was actually a little bit more closer to the books, but I'm a fan of the original. and I'm totally drawing a blank on his name. I just had it.
Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder.
Thank you, Robbie H, for being on top of that. But yeah, that was the best one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Lee, what are your thoughts on that?
I love the original. I don't like the 2005 one. It felt stupid. I think they should never did a remake. I know that the author hated the original movie, but you can't beat Gene Wilder's performance as Willy Wonka or the original.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Wolfman?
I grew up watching that as original one. Personally, I cannot stand watching the new one because Johnny Depp scared the living crap out of me as Willy Wonka. I thought he was going to jump out of my closet and eat me.
That's what this is more accurate. It's more it is a more accurate portrayal of the book, but yeah, and Johnny Depp does I will not say that. I think that's what it was. Like after having years of having Willy Wonka be not necessarily a friend of children, at least he didn't hate them or despise them or not want to be touched or anything. The second one was, even though it was more true to the books, really people didn't really seem to like quite as much. Ecto, Robbie H, what are your thoughts on Willy Wonka?
Well, as a child, I loved Willy Wonka. I would wait for it every year when it come out on TV. As an adult, I cannot revisit it. It doesn't do anything for me anymore. I think Gene Wilder was awesome. I loved how he stood his ground when he wanted to come out with the cane at the beginning, do the flip and stuff. All that stuff was like a surprise. Like he was like, let me do this shit. It's got great music to it. It's just one of those movies I just can't revisit anymore.
No, I get that. I understand that. It almost, as kids, we almost watched it so much that now as adults, we're not really, as big a fan of it.
Yeah.
Let's stay on movies for just another minute here. Jumanji.
I loved it.
Original or remake?
The original.
OG.
Robbie H?
I like the remakes better.
Oh, geez. We got to at least stop going to you, too. Hector, what are your thoughts? Original or remake on Jumanji?
Well, could you call it a remake, though? Wouldn't it be more of a reimagining? I mean, it's not the exact same
I guess
story.
you would say that.
I definitely grew up watching the original. I love the original. I am a sucker for, not always, but the Kevin Hart, Dwayne Johnson duel. I think when you put them in a good roles together, I think they're just comedy gold. And OG all the way, but I definitely enjoyed the reimagining that came out, almost 10 years now, but yeah, definitely enjoyed that one.
Yeah. Now, when did you guys realize that the character of Robin Williams, that his father in the movie was also the hunter, or were you guys all smart enough to figure that out? Because I don't think.
Yeah, I've always picked up on that.
When I think back, I don't think I figured that out until almost the end of the movie.
It was the same way with the movie Hook. Mm-hmm. The father was Captain Hook. The Captain Hook was what was it? It was somebody. Captain Hook was somebody in the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that up because I don't remember that one either.
It's in one of the movies. I can't remember where Captain Hook was the actual father. It might not have been the movie Hook.
That's just like my brother.
One of the Peter Pans, they did that though.
My brother J-Man, he watches shoot, I'm totally drawing a blank on the movie name. You know what? We're gonna skip over that because now I don't remember it.
Who was the actor that played Hook? I'm blanking on his name. Rain Man, right? It was
Dennis Hopper. Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah, when I realized it was Dustin Hoffman, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I did not, for years after I watched that movie, I was like, whoa, it just goes to show the power of an actor.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Wolfman, did you have anything on the Jumanji? You said the original, but did you know about the father?
Yeah, I did. I used to watch that movie all the time at my grandparents' house because my grandpa was either watching soap operas or in his garage working on something. So I'm like, can I just watch Jumanji? Because I'm getting bored of this soap opera stuff. But
all right,
back I don't know if hopefully you don't mind this, but I know a fact that you guys probably didn't know about Willy Wonka. Gene
What's that?
Wilder is originally from Wisconsin.
I did not know that Gene Wilder was from Wisconsin.
Yep, the Milwaukee area, I believe.
Nice.
Nice, interesting, nice little interesting fact there. I always love those. Let's talk about cartoon. Unless anybody else has something else, let's talk about cartoons real quick.
Oh wait, sorry. I do want to mention. I know we're talking about movies, but if anyone enjoys the Willy Wonka books, I highly recommend the second part, Willy Wonka and the Glass Elevator, or Charlie. I forget exactly what it's called, but it literally takes place in space, and there's killer freaking. It's amazing. I'd highly recommend it.
Wow, that I did not know either. Cool, Hector. I love learning new stuff, and that is crazy. It takes place in space. So what? When they hit the elevator and they go through the glass roof, they just keep going up into space.
They keep going, and I believe I remember. It's been a while since I've read it, but they like dock with an international space station or something. But then there's like these. I think they're called killer canids. There's these weird entities that are just the way they describe them are just horrifying. And yeah, I mean, the most of the book takes place with them stuck in space and trying to get back to Earth.
Wow, that is certainly a hard left turn from the first movie, wouldn't you say? Or from the first book? Yeah. All right, that is definitely. I'm almost interested in that and how they reconcile that. Like, I'm interested in reading that just so that I know how that works out, how they attempt to, bring that all together. But we just heard him, Robbie H. It's okay, no problem. All right, let's talk about cartoons. Tailspin and other Saturday morning cartoons. Teen Titans. Were you a fan of Teen Titans? Of course, we have Scooby Doo. So, anybody want to start on this one?
I do, because I liked Tailspin. I like DuckTales, Darkwing Duck. Almost all the classic Saturday morning cartoons in the 90s was my jam. You can't go wrong with them.
Absolutely. Wolfman?
My all-time favorite was the OG Scooby-Doo, because every Saturday morning I'd be in front of that TV watching Scooby-Doo to see what kind of shenanigans Shaggy and Scooby got into.
Absolutely.
So my nieces actually call me Scooby.
Oh, yeah?
Nice.
That's my nickname for my nieces. So I'm like, okay, at least it's not something really mean.
Yeah, and I was also a fan of Tailspin, Darkwing Duck, everything you named, Johnny Lee. And then as I got older, I was a fan of the Spider-Man and the X-Men morning cartoons. And of course, who could not be a fan? Can't believe I didn't get a visual of it. But who was not a fan of Bugs Bunny and Bugs Bunny and his Saturday morning cartoons? But yeah, Robbie H., what about you? Did you have a favorite Saturday morning? I know you were a Saturday morning cartoon watcher. So, which one was your favorite?
I honestly like the Hanna-Barbera cartoons more than anything.
No kidding.
I love Wally Gator, Gray Bait, all that stuff. And I know that's not from the 80s and 90s, but I mean, it was on our reruns.
Yeah.
I liked mindless cartoons, like something you could turn on. You didn't have to.
That's why I love Bugs.
Follow. But if you go past those, my favorite was probably the Pirates of Dark Water, which was honestly another Hanna-Barbera, but still.
Yeah. Wow. Going obscure. Robbie H. going obscure on us. Hector, what about you? Were you a Saturday morning cartoon fan?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Saturday morning cartoons and cereal. I grew up watching mostly the Tailspin, the Darkwing Ducks, Alvin and the Chipmunks, all the Hanna-Barbera stuff, Yogi. Yeah, I mean it was some fun stuff. And then of course the later 90s, like y'all mentioned, like the X-Men and the Saturday morning blocks and stuff like that. Love all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, even today I'll try to get my son to be like, yeah, you want to do Saturday morning cartoons, and we'll try to kind of stream some of the videos or some programs from back in the day. He'll try to sneak in a YouTube video here and there, but I was like, that's not the spirit of 90s cartoons. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm in the middle of watching Batman the Animated Series right now.
Oh, there we go. Well, then
Nice.
let's use that as a segue, unless someone else has something else about the Saturday morning cartoons. Batman the animated series. Is this the best animated series for Batman? I will have to say,
Yes.
I would have to absolutely say yes.
Yes. For a fact.
Y'all are gonna hate me, but no.
What?
If anybody wants to know why Robbie H doesn't come on a lot of episodes, it's because he's always doing stuff like this. No, I'm just kidding. Go. What is yours?
All right, so Batman the Animated Series is a great Batman cartoon. But even growing up, I was sitting here like, this is depressing as shit. It was hard to watch sometimes. The cartoon that came out, well, I say a few years ago, but it's been years and years ago. It was just called The Batman. It was like the Japanimation looking shit. If you actually watch that, it's incredible compared to a lot of the shit that's came out.
Interesting. And that's the real reason we bring Robbie H on some of these episodes, is because he's always giving us some cool shit. Hector, what about you? You a Batman fan, and was the animated series best, or do you have a different pick?
No, that definitely was my Batman growing up. Tim Burton's '89 Batman was my first introduction to Batman. I must have watched that tape a million times, but I also remember, man, I must have been because I do remember living at a certain spot at the time. I must have been 2 years old, and can't forget about that classic Diet Coke commercial in the beginning of the Batman tape for anyone that owned the VHS version. For me, that's the definitive.
Just
Batman.
for the taste of it.
I can still sing the little video at the beginning.
Just like the Pizza Hut commercial at the beginning of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
That's exactly what I was saying, Hector. I was just getting ready to say that exact same thing. I can do that as well. And of course, Robbie H. He's got a huge collection of
nerd shit.
Of all kinds of stuff like that. So I don't know about how big yours is, Wolfman, but I can speak from Robbie H. has showed me a lot of his stuff. So let's now I don't have a visual for this one, but Johnny Lee wanted to bring this up, and I also wanted to talk about it as well. And then we're going to get into another topic that him and Wolfman can talk about. Maybe Robbie H. or Hector can, but I definitely won't be contributing to that one. But first, let's talk about commercials. And I also wanted to, by association, a little bit Blockbuster. So commercials in the 90s are, have a different kind of feel than they do now, certainly. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about that, Johnny Lee?
I remember all the classic commercials back then. You had them making every commercial feel like you want to buy something. You had the M&M's guys back then doing things that had you wanting to buy peanut M&M's, had you wanting to buy M&M brand, everything.
I wanted an M&M series. I don't know about you guys, but as soon as they started having the M&M characters on the commercials, I'm like, yo, why are we not getting an M&M series? Why are we not following these guys around?
Exactly. That's my thoughts.
Yeah. And what about Blockbuster? Do you remember Blockbuster?
Yep.
I didn't have a Blockbuster. We live in a small town.
Wow. Robbie H is the so you never been in one at all, or you
I've never stepped foot in a Blockbuster in my life.
Well, you're gonna have to go to Alaska now. Wolfman, what about you? The commercials. If you have anything to say about the commercials, and then if you want to comment about Blockbuster.
I grew up going to Blockbuster. Like, if I couldn't get a movie, I would just go there just to look at the new movies and the posters and see what they were playing on those TV screens up built in the ceiling. My favorite commercial from my childhood would probably be, I know this is not age appropriate for a kid back in the 90s, but the Budweiser frogs.
Oh man, absolutely, 100%.
I just loved how they just like, God, I'm like, yeah.
I wasn't gonna pick a commercial because I'm not really a fan of commercials. Some of the Super Bowl ones are cool, but that one is definitely stands out. Absolutely. Hector, do you have a favorite commercial, or what do you have any thoughts on Blockbuster?
Well, I want to say how it's hilarious how back in the day we'd all, at least I don't know about you all, but I skipped the commercials. I hated commercials, even if I was taping things on tape, like on a VCR. I would, make it a point to
Well, if
skip
I
the
tape
commercials.
those, yeah.
But now it's like there's a whole community of people that's all they look for is just old commercials. Like it's this old school, almost like a time vault. And so I just find it hilarious that back in the day, we went with nothing to do with them, and now there's a whole community that's all they hunt for is commercials from back in the day. As far as Blockbuster, I have a love-hate relationship with Blockbuster because I grew up going to the mom and pop shops. There wasn't really a lot of Blockbusters in my area until later in the later 90s, and Blockbuster essentially put.
Oh man, we lost Chavo or Hector. I'm sorry, we lost Hector. We will get him back in a minute as soon as he rejoins in. But he was making a great point about the mom and pop shops, as what Robbie H was saying. He didn't have a Blockbuster, and we had a Blockbuster, one or two Blockbusters around here, but we also did have some mom and pop shops too. But for me, Blockbuster was always the experience. Bright lights, video posters, candy, popcorn, like the whole thing. It, like, to me, Blockbuster was an experience. That's one of the things that I remember most about like going to Blockbuster.
Even the smell, they had like an aroma at Blockbuster.
And when I was able to rent video games, that was like the epitome of like the best Friday. I was, the head of the best weekend ever, renting a video game and videos, and on a Friday night ahead of a weekend. You knew I was gonna be sleeping like by Sunday afternoon, because I was going to be up from that time until Sunday. So
I tell you what, today's kids will never understand what it was like going into a Blockbuster.
Hell, I don't understand it.
But you do a little bit. I mean, even the mom and pop
I
shops.
do. I'm just picking.
Yeah, I know. But even the mom and pop shop still had some nice, like they still had their own atmosphere and stuff. And it wasn't bad. Like I still remember going. We had to go to those sometimes because the Blockbuster was usually 20 or 30 minutes away. I didn't. I live outside Harrisburg, so we didn't get a lot of stuff immediately at that time either. So I completely understand that as well. And oh wait, I think we got Hector back.
Just got
the commercials.
Yeah,
the commercials. The toy commercials back in the day. Watching the kids play with the toys and have the whole play sets. That was my favorite thing when I was little. Watching other kids like playing Crossfire, like the old game where you're shooting little BBs, and it looks so badass. And then you get it, and it's really just you with a plastic gun shooting BBs at a little plastic piece. It's not as cool when you get it, but it's cool as hell in commercial.
Yeah.
My absolute favorite commercial of all times is not from the 90s. It's the freecreditreport.com jingle. The FREE, that spells free. That's my shit. I will sit there and turn it on and listen to it like it's a real song.
Is that your ringtone?
It is not. For whom the bell tolls is my ringtone.
That's what I'm talking about right there. That's what I'm talking about right there. All right. That's what I'm talking about. If anybody wants to know, I'm currently using the Halo theme.
Hell yeah.
Nice. That's my ringtone. Hector, you're welcome back. And let's go back to what you were saying about Blockbuster. You were literally cut off right in mid-sentence.
Yeah. Oh, can y'all hear me?
Yo, yeah, we can hear you great.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, like I said, it's a love and hate because they put out all the 3-4 mom and pop shops that were in my area were gone, thanks to Blockbuster. But then it was great because there was a Little Caesars right across the way from the Blockbuster. So once we'd hit the Blockbuster up, we'd go get some pizza, go home, and call it a day. So yeah, so it's like I said, this weird love-hate relationship with Blockbuster.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up Pizza Hut. Talk about a restaurant that has changed over the years. We used to be able to go to Pizza Hut and have the thickest, heaviest, most ingredients on a pizza you've ever seen in your entire life, and it would be like the buffet style. You could just walk up and get yourself a freaking slice of pizza, and then we could went and play video games. And then we went and played video games right inside the restaurant.
We sat there and played Pac-Man at the table.
At the table. At the table. So
at the table.
You want to talk about
the jukebox?
Yeah. Yeah, at the table. So
Right.
yeah, so Pizza Hut is that's one that's definitely changed. And
Well,
McDonald's.
all the fast food places are changing. They're not for kids anymore.
Yeah. They went adults. I don't know what
Like,
happened to them.
It's
Speaking
like
of McDonald's, JD,
kids.
something
Nah,
really. Oh
Yeah.
my God, something really pissed me off. Like, you know how it used to have like the like the play places, like with the jungle gyms and all that, the ball
Yep.
pit. A lot of them don't have that. My girlfriend sent me a picture of a McDonald's play place. I don't know where it was, but all it is, it's a blank wall with iPads stuck to the wall.
Oh my.
That's what's happening here in Kentucky.
Yep. It's
I'm
all
like,
the fast
that's
food
not
joints are
play.
tan and brown now.
yeah. It's a shame that all the fast food joints had a midlife crisis.
They're all just modern looking. It's just
Yeah,
weird.
They don't even have Ronald McDonald anymore.
Nope. They stopped that when they had those clown videos on YouTube and shit.
All right, one
It's
quick
like-
thing because there's a couple of things that I definitely want to get to yet, but who remembers Conjunction Junction, Schoolhouse Rock,
Oh hell yeah!
and the other one, and of course I'm Just a Bill.
Yep.
You couldn't go anywhere in school without having that played for you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you could. I mean, we talk about Saturday morning cartoons. You couldn't put
They
on
would
Sunday
play in
morning
between them.
cartoons. Yeah. You can put on Saturday or Sunday morning cartoons without getting some of those jingles.
For
So-
Because you also
I
had that little
remember,
dude that was in the peanut butter jar or whatever.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
for as much as I remember all of that, I'm still a bad speller, by the way, and couldn't tell you what conjunction is.
that's
right off the
interesting.
bat.
Yeah, I'm a good speller and I'm good at math. Those are two things that I actually got somehow. All right, now this is a topic that I can not contribute on at all. So whoever can contribute, feel free to have the conversation. But I'm not a Dinotopia. I don't have a yay or a nay on it. I'm not familiar with Dinotopia, believe it or not. So
Was it a show?
Yeah, it was a mini series.
Hector,
Yeah.
are you familiar with it at all?
Episodes.
You
Okay,
yes,
then let's
to me.
very good. Then let's confine the conversation here to Johnny Lee and Wolfman. Tell us about Dinotopia because the other three of us have no idea.
Well,
All right.
you can start, Wolfman.
All right. Well, basically, it's about these two brothers that go on this like trip with their father, and they go flying off. You know, like the story of like Gulliver's Travels, where he gets
Okay.
lost in the storm on the ship. It's kind of
All
like that, but in a plane. They
Okay.
crash the plane. The dad dies mysteriously, and then they wash up on the shore, and all of a sudden, they're dinosaurs. Talking
Okay.
dinosaurs that can do math and reading and everything, and
Wow.
everybody's just buddy with them, and except for the carnivores, they do not mess with the carnivores.
That's wow. No, yeah, I definitely don't know anything about that. Johnny Lee?
And not only that, but it's a village called Dinotopia.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically where they're at. That's what they find. Dinotopia, the village.
Now, do y'all remember a show? It might have been like Land of the Lost, like remake or something back in the 90s,
Yeah.
where the family's like driving the car. It's like an earthquake. They go inside like a cave,
Yep.
maybe.
Yep. That's exactly what I was thinking when they were talking about that. Yeah, I know
That's
exactly.
what I thought it was at first, but
Yeah, I think
it's
it is
not.
and I think that was Land of the Lost, Robbie H. It was a remake, a 90s remake of Land of the Lost, I think. But it was, or if not, it was, obviously pretty
A
much
spoof of it or something.
Yeah, but it was good. I liked it. Johnny Lee, I'm sorry, what you were saying? Go ahead. I'm sorry, we cut you off.
Do y'all remember the show Dinosaurs?
Oh yeah,
Not the baby.
well,
I mean,
you
not
know
the
what?
mama.
You
Not the
brought that
mama.
up,
Not the mama.
so we might
That's
as well.
my favorite dinosaurs right there. Not the
Perfect.
mom.
Perfect segue into TGIF. Dinosaurs being on the lineup of TGIF, along with some of these other shows and several shows actually not shown here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there's definitely some missing. So if you had to pick 4 for your favorite lineup of TGIF, what would it be? Let's go. Robbie H. Why don't you start this one?
All right, I'm gonna go off of memory in order. All right, so when I was little, it was like Full House. Well, no, it was Family Matters, Full House, Boy Meets World, and Hanging with Mr. Cooper were my favorite. Perfect Strangers was a little bit before my time, but I did watch it a little bit. I liked it. Sabrina the Teenage Witch could kick rocks. Step by Step, I love Step by Step, but Boy Meets World was my shit.
So that pretty much covered Robbie H's answer on that visual right there.
Yeah, she can eat rocks.
Yeah, Hector, what about you? What's your TGIF lineup?
In no particular order, I'm gonna go ahead and say Step by Step, Boy Meets World, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, and Family Matters. Now, I did become a fan of Sabrina later on when I found out, and I don't know if this is what the age group of this podcast is watching, but Sabrina's aunt, not the one in red, but the one in pink, actually came out in a it was a late night Showtime. I believe it was called something Diaries. One, where it wasn't exactly full blown adult entertainment, but it was like those
the Red Shoe Diaries.
I think it was Red Shoes Diary. Yeah, she came out in one of those episodes. I'm like, mind blown. I'm like, I recognize that from somewhere. And then best believes I was watching Sabrina after that.
Yep. Oh yeah, I would imagine that made you a fan. Absolutely. Wolfman, what about you? What's your favorite TGIF lineup?
Family Matters, Dinosaurs, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Oh my God, those shows! Like
Fresh Prince was actually on TGIF for I think a season or two, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like my favorite memories is like just sitting in front of the TV. Like this makes me feel old. Like tomato soup and grilled cheese. Like sitting in front of the TV watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, watching Steve Urkel blow the house up or like do something wrong and just making Carl Winslow have like a cardiac arrest.
Johnny Lee, what about you? What's your favorite lineup?
It'd have to be Full House, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. It'd have to be Family Matters, and Saved by the Bell.
Wow, that's definitely a unique one. That's definitely a unique one. My pick is going to be I don't know if they actually had this lineup all together, but if I had to pick my own four, it would be Family Matters, Boy Meets World, Step by Step, and then the fourth one was always the one that I was never, the rotating one. Because when I was a big TGI fan, it was those three. Those three shows were the the longest running of the show. So if I had to pick a fourth, actually, I'd probably go with Full House. Actually, Dinosaur was cool, and Hanging with Mr. Cooper was cool. Sabrina the Teenage Witch was cool, but they weren't my favorites by any means. I think Family Matters, Step by Step, and Boy Meets World were definitely like, those staples were like my three favorites. The fourth one. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. I'd say because the whole thing's about nostalgia. Dinosaurs, I think, is a really good example of how nostalgia can just really blind somebody. Because I tried to revisit that show, and as much as I enjoyed it growing up, it's such a bad show, man.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. In fact, that actually reminds me, I'm missing a visual, so thank you. We'll have to get into that in just a minute, even though I don't have the visual for it. But yeah, some of these shows, Perfect Strangers. I'm sorry, I could never watch it. I've never been a fan of it. I couldn't do it. A little fun fact, though, did you know that Family Matters is actually a spinoff of Perfect Strangers?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe it was the wife, right? That was the secretary or something in one.
The elevator operator.
Oh, okay.
And the guy that played Balky in Perfect Strangers ends up playing on Step by Step as like a hairdresser.
Yep, as a hairdresser. After the family's cousin, the actor got into some real life trouble.
Right.
But that goes to, like you said, nostalgia. That's one thing. I do think Dinosaurs, I can't watch Dinosaurs. I could never go back and do a rewatch of Dinosaurs. I could never go back and rewatch Hanging with Mr. Cooper. I just can't do it. And
I haven't tried, but I have went back and watched Step by Step. I like it better now than when I was younger. Full House, we watched every single one of those when my kids were growing up.
Yeah.
Boy Meets World, I've watched like 20 times over because Topanga was my girl.
Yep, me too.
it's what it is. She didn't even know we were together back then, but we were.
Yeah, I think Boy Meets World definitely holds up still. There's some solid writing and acting.
I also think Family Matters before Steve Urkel, because a lot of people don't know, maybe not remember this, but Steve Urkel was not part of season 1, or at least most of season 1 of Family Matters.
Yeah, he was just a walk-off character in season 1. Like, I mean, he'd be in every other episode or something.
No, not until like episode 15 or 16. Actually, Robbie Yates. There's like half the season. Yeah, half the season is actually before he even arrives. It's crazy.
Oh, shit.
And it's terrible. I'll be honest with you. We were talking about dinosaurs not holding up, and I think until Steve Urkel gets there, that show is on it's just got to be a downward slope. The introduction of his character had to have saved that show.
And also, out of this whole group, who actually had cable and who had antenna or satellite?
I had cable.
I had both. I had both at various times.
All right, so me growing up, and JD will tell you, I didn't have cable. All I had was antenna. I had maybe 10 channels. Fox was my biggest channel. So sometimes, and we're talking about nostalgia and stuff, sometimes it's not even about what you enjoyed as nostalgia back then or as in a show back then, but you can rewatch now. Like, I've caught myself, because you watch what was on TV back then. Like, sometimes when you're flipping through those 5 channels, there's nothing on but Renegade or Hunter, the cop dude from the 80s. And you're sitting there like about to blow your brains out in real life because you're a kid wanting to watch the Animaniacs.
Yeah.
And you have to watch those. Now I can go back and, like, I rewatched Hunter. I've rewatched the Highlander TV show, the Crow TV show. Absolutely love them, but I don't think I would like them at all if it wasn't for watching them when I was little.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right about that. I think they're nostalgia. There's some things that you can watch because you enjoyed it as a kid. You can still kind of capture that moment. And then there's some things that just don't hold up even on a rewatch. That's just the way it is. But I couldn't agree more with what you just said right there. Absolutely. All right, one more movie, and then we're going to get into some. We have one more little topic that I definitely wanted to get to. But The Sandlot. I mean, you guys know I had to bring up The Sandlot.
I love it.
So can we assume everybody's a fan, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The Sandlot and Homeward Bound was my 2 favorite movies like that back then.
Absolutely, Homeward Bound too. But The Sandlot, I've seen this so many times, and it holds. And I'm sorry, it still holds up.
It does.
Mm-hmm. So does anybody want to talk about anything specific with that movie, or should we just move right on to the next one since we're all fans?
It's just nostalgia.
Other than it was a masterpiece. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. It was a masterpiece. It was the perfect kid, or I don't care. I will say it because everybody's like, this ain't for boys and girls. It was a perfect little boy movie. Like, for a boy to sit there and watch it. And it's not very much when it comes to movies like that to watch for little boys back then. Like, we had Stand By Me, which was a Stephen King novel called The Body. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the closest thing we had. We had Radio Flyer about a stepdad beating the shit out of his kids. But at least we had The Sandlot. We had Hercules,
We had Rookie of the Year. Yeah.
Rookie of the Year. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but I'm saying The Sandlot was the pinnacle for all of those. Rookie of the Year, The Green, what is it called? The Big Green, all those stuff. Yeah. They would be, I mean, some of them might have came out before
Little Giants.
Sandlot, but The Sandlot still shine the light for them.
Well, I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for one of those growing, coming to age movies, I guess is what they call them, right?
Yeah, me too.
Because it would, I think it would have still would have been a good movie, but I think the tie-in at the end where they're all grown up and they reflect, because that's what the whole movie is about. Essentially, I think the movie is about nostalgia and about that one perfect summer, right? And
exactly. I mean, I'm a fan. It's not really. I mean, this is probably I don't know how this is gonna paint me, but I was a fan of Can't Hardly Wait when I was a teenager.
That was a good movie.
It was that type of movie that the coming of age movie, especially at the time when you're in that age range and you get those movies when you're in that age range or at least close to it. then I think it really sticks with you that much more. I don't have the symbol for WWE. We were talking about nostalgia that doesn't hold up over time. We are going to talk a little WWE, and then I got one last little topic that we are going to talk about, as long as everybody has time. We're coming up on an hour, but we're going to keep it going. You got to go?
No, just one more movie I want to bring up that we have not said anything about. Three Ninjas.
Oh,
heck yeah.
Three Ninjas. We should run, we should hide, we should kick their butt. I mean, I remember playing Three Ninjas with my two cousins. I remember playing with JD.
Hi, how you doing?
So, I mean, that to me was like one of the biggest movies of my childhood.
I mean, I would like to say by association, Surf Ninjas and Sidekicks.
I'm a sucker for Sidekick. I forget the guy's name. I know Chuck Norris was in there, but I forget
Chuck Norris and
wasn't River Phoenix, but it was one of those young.
Yeah, it was one of those kids that was popular back then, and you don't remember now.
Yeah, that used to come out on HBO all the time. That's when
I wouldn't know about that. I had cable.
You asked, who had my thing was like, what, legally, or when I was borrowing it from my neighbor, or when I finally, there was a little period of time where my parents finally had, because I was born and raised in Chicago, so big city, so cable was available, but we were poor. Like it was very rare that we had anything outside of the 10 channels, and then you have to switch over to UHF to get another 3 or 4 channels or whatever. Like
my house was between two tobacco fields.
Okay.
Yes,
it's hard to get some out there. I'm
guessing. Actually 3, I think, because you had one on both sides, and then one right across the street.
It wasn't one across the street. That's where our cousins lived, was across the street in that 2-story house down the hill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My goodness, we're really going back in time. All right, so now let's talk about the WWE, though, because we're going to talk about some nostalgia that doesn't hold up over time, and I think this is going to be the key of the conversation here, the stuff that doesn't hold up over time, because there's a lot of stuff in the WWE that happened in the 90s that is just and I'm sorry, listen, you want to talk about not hold up over time. I'm sorry, but as soon as Vince McMahon had Trish Stratus on all fours barking like a dog, that is really when I officially became not a WWE fan. That was how people talk about, you think back and boy, Trish on all fours doesn't really hold up over time. How did it hold up at that time?
It wasn't about anything but seeing Trish Stratus, though. That's all it was.
Is there anybody that can is there anybody that can justify that?
No, I'm not even justifying, but that's why he did it. I mean, it's all about demeaning the women.
Yeah, I love how people. I mean, I was a huge fan of the Attitude Era, right? We're looking at late '96 to maybe a little past 2000s. It was great for entertainment, horrible for wrestling. I'm sorry, and that's one of my favorite eras. That's when I was really watching wrestling. It was great entertainment to a certain extent, but the wrestling was so bad. There was just a handful of guys that maybe put on some good matches, but for the most part, the Attitude Era was just that. It was just an era of just freaking shenanigans, man. That a lot of it doesn't hold up.
Yeah, just
myself. I didn't watch a lot of wrestling until like the very late 90s into 2000s. So I was into the Brothers of Destruction, Kane and Taker.
Heck yeah.
But I would watch every SmackDown there was, because I didn't get Raw because I didn't have cable. Anyway, once I saw like Stone Cold come out with a beer truck and spraying everybody, and then maybe 6 months later, Kurt Angle comes out with a milk truck and starts spraying people, and they start redoing the same shit they've done before. I was done. And what really tipped it off for me is when they separated the wrestlers from SmackDown to Raw, and I lost Kane, and all I had was Taker and The Rock. And I was like, I'm not watching this shit no more.
Oh, that's probably why you didn't like it, because you didn't have access to Raw. I wasn't a fan of the brand split. I'm still not a fan of the brand split. I don't get the brand split, because why are you, if you're having two companies, then why don't you just have a split off and, have a WWE and then, like NXT, you know what I mean? Like, why do you have a Raw and a SmackDown brand? I've never understood it. I don't get it. And when AEW does it, I'm going to blast Tony Khan.
But one thing I think they did right was the promotions for when they got rid of WWF and turned it to WWE. Their promotional shirts, "Get the F Out,"
Yeah,
I think was genius.
It was good though. You're right. It was good. Hector.
Yeah, the brand extension, all that was because they bought out their competition and the roster was just too bloated.
Too
They
big.
had nothing else to do. I mean, there's just no way to feature that many people on
And they
SmackDown and Raw. And yeah, it was just, I mean, but when there is no more legit competition, I think that's when the product really starts to suffer. Which again, WWE's had its ups and downs, even in the early '90s with the horrible gimmicks and the garbage man and Ivan Yankum and
the
just,
garbage. Johnny Lee, you were going to say something too then?
The Katie Vick storyline was the single most worst storyline I have ever witnessed, and it involved Kane and Triple H.
Oh man, yes.
I don't know. Mae Young did give birth to a hand though.
Yeah, but that was
oh god, I remember that.
That one was also not very good. Those two right there probably at the top of the list, or at least if they can't be not in the conversation if you're talking about worst of all time. Those two have to be in the conversation at the very least.
I think one of the worst was Stone Cold when he got the head injury, and every time somebody spoke, it was what?
Yeah,
that just got on my fucking nerves.
Oh man, you know what?
The worst thing that ever happened to wrestling.
To all of wrestling, Hector, exactly, because now anytime someone's doing a promo and they have a pause, what? Then that's what you hear from the stupid fans. What? So like, and I actually, what I've liked most is wrestlers who because that's still a delivery style. It's still a way to deliver a promo with those pauses to let the fans react or whatever. So what I like is when fans start doing it to wrestlers, they completely change up their style and they completely cut them off. And that's one thing that I like that wrestlers have done. It's been like their answer back because you're just really heckling anybody who isn't Austin. You're just using that to heckle somebody, really, right?
Right.
So I like that the wrestlers have kind of answered back, and as soon as the fans start kind of doing that, they just kind of change their style, and they don't give those pauses, but they kind of lead up to them, letting the people still kind of like say what, but he doesn't actually give the break, and they continue talking.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to work with a couple of professional wrestlers here in Minnesota, and when they're talking about promos, especially. I've had a chance to work with Ken Anderson and the Academy, Professional Wrestling.
Nice.
And when they're talking about promos, the first thing they say is like, if people start yelling what, ignore it. Just don't even acknowledge it at this point because it's just so overdone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. There is one last topic that I want to talk about, and that is my favorite author, R.L. Stine.
Ooh,
yes.
Author of the Goosebumps and the Fear Street. And I'm personally a huge fan of both. Goosebumps came out right at the tail end when I was in 4th, 5th grade, when I was in elementary school. So I did get a couple of years with the Goosebumps, and then in middle school, or shortly after entering middle school and then into high school, I was a huge, and I can't stress that word enough, huge Fear Street fan. I bet I have read 80 or 85% of the entire Fear Street library from R.L. Stine, including the origin story and any of the miniseries books that they've also had. So let's talk a little R.L. Stine and Goosebumps and Fear Street. Johnny Lee, are you a fan of both, and did you have a favorite book?
I loved R.L. Stine's Goosebumps. For me, that was the books that I grew up reading. Every time they were inside the library, I pick them up and I'd read them. My favorite book was the one that involved the mask that would take up her face and she couldn't get it off.
Interesting. All right. What about Fear Street? Were you a Fear Street fan at all, or no?
Did dabble with Fear Street. It was a good book series, and I recommend that anyone that has not picked it up, they should definitely check that out.
And one thing before I go to the Wolfman, I want to say one of the great things about the Fear Street is that a lot of the books can be read individually as individual books. But then if you want the origin and some story, there are plenty of books that actually deal with the lore of Fear Street as well. But there's a lot of books that you can just pick up and read and not necessarily have to understand or know the lore of it. Wolfman, what about you? Goosebumps, Fear Street?
I was a huge Goosebumps fan. My favorite my two favorite books were The Haunted Mask and The Night of the Living Dummy.
Slappy.
And speaking of horror stories, I actually wrote my own horror book.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
We'll have to talk about that maybe in another episode, or bring that up in another episode here. We're starting to run over. I don't want to take too much more time as we go over an hour. Hector, what about you? Fear Street, Goosebumps?
Goosebumps all day. I actually was not introduced to Fear Street until the movies came out a few years back, right? Over on Netflix. The three movies that came out, which I loved.
I'm gonna watch those. I haven't gotten a chance to see them yet. I actually didn't even know that they were like directly related to like R.L. Stein or Fear Street or any of that. So I did not know that at the time.
Can't say if they did justice to the books. Like I said, I never read them. I was not familiar with those, but yeah, the movies were great. But Goosebumps all the way, especially the TV show. Love that song. I still play that song on my spot. It's when you get the Spotify end of the year, that was one of the songs that came up a lot. So yeah, no, I love that. One of my favorite books is Say Cheese and Die, man. Love a camera that you can take pictures that tell the future, but the future is always going to be like messed up. Like, oh man, that's just scared me as a kid.
Oh, really? No, I'm gonna have to watch these and tear them apart. I'm sorry. I just looked them up. They look like they're going to be an attempted at the origins stories of Fear Street. At least that's what the advertisement things look like. It'd
make a good episode though.
They look like a modernized version of some of the origin Fear Street books. So I'm going to look into that. But there's just based on look, it looks like I might be tearing them apart. But let's wait until I actually see them, and then we'll do another episode on maybe just Fear Street. That'll be cool. We'll get Hector to come back since he's seen them, and everybody else to come back to talk about them. So, did you have a favorite? I'm sorry, you might have said it while I was looking them up. Did you have a favorite Fear Street?
No Fear Street. I was like I said, I never read the Fear Street.
That's right. Not until that's what made me go look it up, because you said you weren't a fan until you saw the movies.
Yeah. Well, I can't say I'm not a fan. I just was not even aware they were a thing
you're
until
right.
the movies
My
came
apologies.
out. So I'll definitely check them out for sure.
Robbie H, what about you, buddy?
I'm not gonna lie. I had probably about 10 or 11 Goosebumps books.
Yep.
The one I remember the most is the one with the hamster on the front.
Yeah,
but I don't remember. I don't think I ever read any of them. I just had them because everybody else did. I've never read Fear Street. Never heard of it until the movies came out. I enjoyed the first two movies. The third one was kind of eh. So that's about as far as I can give you.
Well, now I know what I'm doing over the next 2 days, over the next 2 nights. I'll be
Shout out to Erie, Indiana, in the same vein of like the Goosebumps stuff. But that was an odd show for sure. That kind of definitely was trying to ride on the coattails of Goosebumps.
Yeah.
But before you cut this off, I just want to ask.
Cutting anything off yet?
Mortal Kombat. All right. I want to give a shout out to the first person in my life back then that I ever watched beat Mortal Kombat 3, which was my favorite. Everybody give a round of applause to JD. Please. JD, you got that shit. You're the first person I ever seen beat it.
Thank you very much. I have beaten a couple of the Mortal Kombat games. It is definitely on my achievement list. Definitely. My favorite.
I'm saying at our age back then, it was. Just
for sure. Yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah, for sure.
Watch you get Sub-Zero, do that uppercut, and everthing starts to flash. My jaw dropped. Yeah. So I just wanted to put that out there before we leave.
Sub-Zero was my shit back then. And since you brought up Mortal Kombat, I'm going to just say my favorite Mortal Kombat game was Armageddon. And I will ask you whatever everybody else's favorite games was in a minute. But we are not moving on from R.L. Stein for a moment until I talk about it. Because I am a huge fan of R.L. Stein. I'm a huge fan of him as an author. I like his writing style. I was a huge fan of Goosebumps when I was a kid, but shortly after I got into middle school, I wasn't able to get into the books. They were a little too childlike, a little too cartoony for me. My favorite one was Say Cheese and Die. And the Fear Street though, I was a huge fan of the origins. Like after I realized that there was a 3-part book series about the origins of Fear Street, that's what I read. I read all 3 books in 3 days while I was going to school. I was reading I was reading those books 5 minutes, but when you got 5 minutes before class starts, before the bell rings, I would read 5 minutes, the 3 or 4 minutes I had before class, the 3 or 4 minutes I had after class, in between class and study halls. I would crank through those origin books faster than any set of books that I've ever read in my life. And they are definitely my favorites. And if these movies are based on them and they don't do them justice, I'm going to have a rant that's going to be rivaled that you've never seen before. All right. So I'm just saying, now that you guys have pointed out to me, because I did not realize that they were actually Fear Street based on the Fear Street book movies. I did not know that. So now that I know that, I will watch them and check them out. And there are so many, I want to say there are so many like miniseries books inside these. House 99, The Babysitter. There are so many great miniseries inside the Fear Street series. And I loved reading any. There's not one Fear Street book that I thought, this isn't very good. There isn't one. There was a couple of Goosebumps books that I did not read. The one with the hamster comes to mind, Robbie H. I thought that was one of the worst ones, to be quite honest.
Well, I've never read them. I just had them.
Yeah, no, I understand, but it's funny you brought that up because that's one I would pick as one of my worst ones. So that's where I stand on R.L. Stine. I'm a huge fan of him as a book, and also the TV show though. Wasn't really a fan of the TV show, but I think that's because I had aged out. I was on to Fear Street and stuff. So
but I will say that the Jack Black movie, the first Goosebump Jack Black movie, I actually enjoyed that.
I can see Jack Black pulling off a good Goosebumps movie. I think that would be the only way to actually get a good Goosebumps movie pulled off would be to pull off that kind of over the top comedy a little bit on it. So go ahead, Johnny Lee. Did you say something?
That's right. That's the only way that you could get a good Goosebumps movie is if Jack Black was in it.
Which you really can't say about too many other types of movies. You can't really say that about too many other types of movies with Jack Black. But all right, now let's talk about last thing. Well, let's get everybody's favorite Mortal Kombat game, and then we'll get ready to close out. Hector, what about you? Were you a Mortal Kombat fan, and did you have a favorite game?
I was, and sticking to the nostalgia topic, Mortal Kombat 2. That was kind of the first time where they really introduced like legit combos and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's definitely. But then actually, I take that back because then. Growing up, that was my favorite. But then when I got older, like in high school, a friend of mine turned me on to Mortal Kombat Trilogy. And that's all we used to play.
Having all three.
All the time. Oh, yeah. I mean, it just, all the characters, all the different combo sets. I wasn't very good at it, but man, was it fun to play.
Robbie H., what about you? Your favorite Mortal Kombat?
I don't know which one it was because it's been so long since I played it, but it was the one where you could create your own character.
Mortal
I think
Kombat
it was either Armageddon or one of those.
Mortal Kombat Armageddon. That's also my pick. Mortal Kombat Armageddon.
I was a beast at that game.
Mm-hmm.
I had my dude looking like a buff ass Jason Voorhees, and I mean, he was cool shit. So that was my favorite one.
I'm going to interrupt and then we'll get to Johnny Lee and Wolfman. But you brought up Armageddon. That's also my pick, Armageddon. I created my own fighter. I made him look like a variation on a Scorpion Sub-Zero, using my own blue color combination. And I had the spear and stuff. And that's why I liked Armageddon, not just because was it really good buttons, really good combinations, a really good story, in my opinion, but it also had the full roster. It's the first game where we've really gotten the full roster from every other Mortal Kombat game that there has been. So that was my favorite thing about Armageddon, was having the full roster of people. Hector talked about the Mortal Kombat trilogy. That's what made that game so awesome, was being able to play all three of the games. And I think that's what made Mortal Kombat 3 so great, was the addition of so many different more characters.
My son and I play Trilogy all the time on the little emulator thing I got.
My favorite Mortal Kombat game, though, I would have to pick number one. I think the nostalgia, again, we're doing nostalgia episode. I think the nostalgia from that first game just is too much. I mean, the freeze.
But I'm not gonna lie, I went back to it and got my ass kicked so bad on the first one.
Oh yeah, it's not easy to beat like Goro and Shang Tsung. Like those are boss battles back in the day.
I couldn't beat the first person.
Real.
But you got to play the Sega Genesis version though, because
That's the only version I will play.
Yeah, I was a Super Nintendo guy growing up, and when I played, I was like, "Oh, this is fun." And then I played it on Sega Genesis. Like, there's so much more blood. Whoa.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh my goodness, the blood. Johnny Lee, what about you? Favorite Mortal Kombat?
Armageddon as well, because you can't beat creating your own character.
Absolutely not. You absolutely can't beat that. You absolutely can't beat creating your own character. There's nothing that can do that. Especially being able to, the way you could choose your own moves, kind of have your own fighting style. Then you had the weapon too, and you could name your own styles of those. Yeah, dude, the customization, and again, the roster and the creative fighter was just too much. Wolfman?
I'm gonna be honest here. I've never really played them. I've only played like the demo versions. Like at
well, you're fired. No, I'm just kidding.
I did play like Street Fighter.
Oh, okay. I was a fan of
kind of-
Street Fighter too. Yeah, I was a fan of the Street Fighters as well.
Yeah, so like I was more into the Street Fighter because that had more of like martial arts.
More button combinations than the first couple Mortal Kombat's had. Mortal Kombat was really more about the blood and the gore than it was about how good the fighting game was. That much I will say about the Mortal Kombat. You want to talk about things that don't hold up with nostalgia. The first 3 Mortal Kombat games compared to other fighting games really don't hold up in the long run. They really don't. They're great nostalgia games, but compared to the fighting games nowadays, they're not even close. They're not even close.
You wouldn't have the fighting games you have now without them.
You're absolutely right. If people didn't want to play them, and people, that's how games evolve over time. People enjoy them, and then you make them better and better. So that's how it works. But yeah, in terms of today, though, they don't hold up in terms of like actual fighting games. I mean, in Mortal Kombat 1, dude, I will do the punch combination, then I will sweep you until you are down to have 1 speck of life, and then I will hit the roundhouse kick on you and win the match.
You gotta get Raiden and do the what is it called, Kamehameha, where he's flying.
Yep.
Man, I will destroy your ass with that.
That's what I'm saying, though. That's what I'm saying. Those games had those kinds of like holes where you could just sweep somebody until they were out. If you get one,
I would spam the shit out of it.
Yeah, so that was what those games were about. But that's what, again, without those, we don't have the games we have today. And that's part of nostalgia. Some of it holds up, some of it doesn't hold up. And this has been a really fun episode. And now I'm gonna give everybody a shout out. So let's do that. Hector, first off, we're gonna shout out him. Go check him out. He is a videographer, video producer, and of course, he is works with MAW, Midwest All-Star Wrestling, which I refer to as MAW. And I hope that eventually it catches on. If it does catch on, I will claim to be the first person to start pronouncing it, because Hector himself in a previous episode had said he'd never heard anybody refer to it as MAW before. So I'm taking the claim if people start referring it to it as that. That's all me. Check out Superfly Johnny Lee. He's the co-host of the Nice Guy Andy podcast, and him and his team have so many other podcasts and shows that you want to check out, not just the Nice Guy Andy podcast. Go check out that, and go check out all of the other stuff. He's very much like Mayhem Media. He's building out his own team, and they have plenty of shows. Calamity Jane is definitely one you definitely want to check out. Wolfman is a member of the Mayhem team, and you can catch him on the prediction shows alongside the one and only Connor Clarkson. And they've been doing the Saturday night main events and every WWE PLE / pay-per-view. Yes, I'm still going to call them pay-per-views because that's, you want to talk about nostalgia again. They're called PPVs or pay-per-views. This PLE crap is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just all of what it is. You know what you're doing? You know what you're doing when you purchase those? You are paying to view it. And you have to do it every time, which makes it a pay-per-view. So now that we're clear on the language,
and I just want to make a shout out quick, boss. The man, the myth, the legend who made my logo, the Wolfman logo. I want to give you huge props. You killed it, brother. Keep it up.
Bro.
And that is Robbie H, aka Ecto85, who made the new Wolfman symbol. He also made the skull that you see on the Mayhem Media. He makes everything just about. He makes 90% of the graphics that we produce. I make the other 10%. So 90% of it is him and 10% is me. So any shout outs for most of the graphics, they should be just directed at him. And with that, we are going to close out this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Leave us a comment. We would love to hear what you have to say about anything that we talked about. And we're going to have Ecto and Wolfman, and we're going to have Johnny Lee and Hector on episodes coming up, hopefully in the future, when their schedule permits. Everybody on this panel right now is extremely busy people. So as long as time permits, they'll come back on.
I'm like that secret character on Mortal Kombat. You have to press the right buttons for me to appear.
You absolutely, you and Hector, you guys are the unlockable characters in this episode. Absolutely. I mean, that's absolutely the way it is. Yeah, I don't know who it was that put the button combination in, but I'm glad that they did. So, you know, I should have had a little sound bite or something, you know, when you guys joined in. Hector unlocked.
What?
All right, guys. Marcus Frederiksen is going to play us out as he plays us in and out of everything. Check out the storefront, bonfire.com/store/Mayhem Media Shop, and pick yourself up something. Help us continue to grow. Until then, I am your host, JD, and that's the end.